Nice to see you. Well, it's been a few, now it's too loud. Find me a middle, guys. Now it's too soft. Don't make me come back here, because you know I will. After that video, you ought to know better. All right. Hey, it's good to see you guys again. As you saw on the video, there's not going to be a normal Sunday morning service. A little bit different, all right? But he knew that coming into this, so he knows me. The most difficult part of Sunday mornings for me anymore is trying to take two very dramatically different worlds and bring them together in the time that we have. That's the biggest challenge for me and for you guys. It's a combination of both. Because when you live like this long, I've seen 23 people murdered in front. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody get their head cut off in front of you. I have. So I am not here today to entertain you. I am not here to try to wow you. I'm trying to communicate something that's probably borderline impossible to communicate. But that's our assignment today. So whether you're in the Philippines, in the North Cemetery, where you saw me holding the skull, where we actually do Sunday school, in the cemetery where the kids live amongst the remains of dead people. Or whether you've been in a shootout with Boko Haram, which I was 2 years ago in the north of Nigeria, when we pulled 23 girls out of there. When I talk to you today, just know, it's just gonna be different, that's all. Not good, not bad, just different. So if you're a visitor today, please come back next week. That's my disclaimer. Come back next week. He's a great pastor. It's a great church. I live in New York. I'm passing through. This only happens once every 5 years. It's like a lunar eclipse. It just happens every once in a while. Pastor, thank you for letting me hang out with you guys today. A couple of things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the product. You're not a guest speaker unless you're selling something. So not to be outdone by these other knuckleheads, I too have the usual potpourri of missionary paraphernalia on the back. The DVDs, just so you guys know, these are all number 17 rated DVDs in this part of the world. They are very difficult to watch. I don't apologize for that, but you need to know up front, this shows where I live in the ghetto in New York and the people I live with. So they're not for kids. They're not even for most Christians. But if you want to see that side of it, we have a few of those. The books, of course, Whose Child Is This? Is now in 32 languages. It's been a bestseller in Europe for many, many years. Is the story of how Metro has become the largest organization of its kind in the world. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, but more than that, it will push you. It will press you. Like today's service, this will push you, okay? If you're not up for that, you may want to leave now because we need your seat anyway. So if you're not up for being pushed, not up for being stretched, you picked the wrong place, all right? But who has not read this book? You have not read this book. Let me see here. What is wrong with you people? Where have you guys been? All right. Let me try it again. Who has not read the book? Let me see. You guys have, come on, man. Merry Christmas. There you go. All right. Some of the other books, of course, I just finished a PhD at the University of Wales. I teach Old Testament in a couple of universities in and around Europe. So a lot of the stuff that you'll read back there, these are textbooks that are used at some of the larger churches in the States and universities. The Teflon rhino, if you're going to make it in life, you got to have skin thick as a rhino made out of Teflon. Nothing sticks to you. Let me say that again for the cheap seats in the back. Nothing sticks to you. I love coming here, but you guys get offended way too easily. That's part of this culture. You all know that. If you don't, you do now. All right? We got bigger fish to fry, folks, than because somebody rolled their eyes at you or didn't shake your hand. Come on. All right? After you see 23 people murdered in front of you, you have a better clarity of a statement like that. All right? So books like that, I have one here that I've dedicated to the British people, Running with Turtles. Just for you folks. How do you run with a turtle? Very carefully. All right? So I'll be at the back table back there if any of you want me to sign your book or chat a little bit. I said that once. It was in Germany. And some guy, thank you. Some guy said, you know what? He said, I don't like you. I said, okay, let's step outside. And we did. So I can be really nice. Just depends on the day. But I've looked forward to this. As Pastor said, this is the end of a really long run for me. When you have a little bit of an understanding of life on a different, what's the word I want to use there? Maybe on a different plane, different edge. It forces you to look at things differently. I was in Korea, and I had one of the gentlemen come up at the back table after the service, and he said, Pastor Bill, I just don't feel like I have what it takes to keep it going. I understand that. There will come a time, listen to me, there will come a time in everybody's life. I don't know all of you. Some of you are visitors. You've known me from other places I've preached here. It's always good to see you. But no matter what side of life you've come from, or what part of the world you come from, today is going to be that kind of day that I think, hopefully, through my prayer, is to connect with you on a different level. I was on BBC a couple of years ago, and the lady that was the, what do they call them, the presenter? Is that what they call them? She wasn't a Christian. Interesting gal, but she was kind of insightful. She knew I'd been shot in the head, stabbed a couple of times, thrown off of a building. I'd been in 3 plane crashes. So she knew a little bit of the background. And she said, how is it that you have been able to still do this after all these years, and actually, at this point, doing more than I did even when I was younger? I knew I was getting the call soon, and I got it in Italy a couple of weeks ago. I'm now going to Syria. That'll be the next stop. So, yeah, you can give God praise. So the doors that are opening, I don't want to say phenomenal, because I'm not sure that word fits there. I don't want to use amazing, because that's too churchy of a word, because everything's amazing now. What used to be normal is now amazing. It's amazing how we settle for less. And awesome, yes, awesome and amazing. Don't use that word, please. It's very annoying to people like me. It's just annoying, okay? But Afghanistan, a little later this year, Syria. So when I ask you to pray for me, it's not because I've got the flu or a headache. I don't wear the bulletproof vest just for the video. I actually go places that when I'm preaching, I have to wear the vest and carry a gun. So for those of you that were offended on that, just suck it up, okay? You don't live where I live. You don't do what I do. So just chill out. I know you're British, but just relax, okay? When you go where I go, that's how you have to do it, folks. So, anybody want to go with me on some of these places? Y'all want to go? You up for this? All right, we'll figure it out. So I was talking with this presenter. She said, how is it that you can still do this and go through these new doors and still be excited about it? And I made a statement, and I'm going to start off by saying it here, and then I'm going to walk you through it. Your commitment has to be stronger than your emotions. That was worth you dragging yourself here today, even though some of you came 15 minutes late. We're glad you're here. But that was worth you dragging yourself here today just to get that. So let me say it again. If you're going to make it, folks, if you're going to make it, your commitment has got to be stronger than your emotion. Because you know how we are. You know us church folk. It's all about how we feel. It's all about how we feel. I don't feel like it. Shut up. This has never been about how you feel, folks. This is not about how you feel. Because I know how this works. People, I'm tired. I'm tired. Okay, really? And you're... When you make a decision, there's a level of commitment that moves you beyond the emotion of the moment, beyond the feeling of the moment. And when this gal was asking me, and I made that statement, she hesitated because it clicked with her. And we had a good little chat afterwards, and I believe I was able to help her. And it was out of that conversation that this message I want to bring you for a few minutes. I'm not going to be in front of you long today. Was birthed, and I hope it'll encourage some of you today. That's my goal. I was in the book of Judges. I was teaching a class on Judges, and I stumbled upon something here. If you got a Bible, flip open to the book of Judges, chapter number 20. If you don't have a Bible, slip over next to a Christian, they'll have one. Just slip over there. Because I want you to look at something that I'm sure you've read. You may have just kind of stumbled over it, and I get that. You've really got to focus on some of this stuff. And I'm not going to talk to you in Hebrew today. I'm not going to bore you with that. But let me just lay a foundation, and then we're going to get into it. The children of Israel were fighting a critical, pivotal battle. Let me say that again. The future of the nation is going to hinge on the outcome of this battle. So they're picking people to fight in this critical, pivotal, two key words, critical, pivotal battle. And if you pick it up, go to the 14th verse of the 20th chapter of Judges. It says, the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah to go out to battle against the children of Israel. So they're setting up this fight, this battle. All right? So they're picking folks. And in the 15th verse it says, the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Now, I'm going to focus on this chosen here for just a minute, all right? If I was to say I needed one person to help me here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 very capable people here on the front row. If I just needed one capable person, I could just choose one of these 4. This word chosen in this 15th verse is one of those unique Hebrew words that means they were choosing people. Listen to me. They were choosing people for a reason. They weren't just arbitrarily pulling somebody out of the pot to fight in the battle. You with me? All right. So they're choosing folks for a reason. Look at this. 700 chosen men. Now go down to 16. These 700 chosen men were all left-handed. Now, considering only 9% of the world's population is ever left-handed, all of a sudden, 700 showed up. Okay, now, this is not normal, all right? They're fighting a critical, pivotal battle. So obviously, the people that they're picking or choosing, how can I say this? There's got to be a reason why, because the future, listen to me, the future of the nation is hinging on the fight. So they're picking 700 left-handed men. And look at the B part of that 16th verse. It says, every one of them could sling stones at a hair and not miss. Now, this is one of these things that you'll just kind of go right over this. It's what we do in the Old Testament. If it looks a little too technical, a little too complicated, it's just easy to go, oh, that was nice. And then go back to Leviticus, which is all of our favorite book to study. But this captivated me. I have a fairly extensive library in New York, so I know that there's something here. Have you ever seen something in the Bible that you know it's there, but you can't find it, you can't figure it out? I'm all over this 700, and I know the whole Benjamite thing. I know of it. That wasn't what got me. There's something deeper here, okay? So I'm looking through all my commentaries, all the research books, because I don't buy books by American authors. It's all boring. No, it's all the same stuff. It's just a rehash. It's your best day ever, and it's all the same old. Of course, my books are different, but the other guys, no, I'm just saying, the other guys, ain't much to it. But I buy all my books over here. There's a little village in Wales called Hay-on-Wye. Every time I'm there, they drop me off at 9 o'clock in the morning. They pick me up at 5 o'clock at night. I get everything, have it all shipped back to New York. Because when you get those books, and Pastor knows this, from the 1700s, 1800s, from those preachers from this part of the world, they had an understanding of history that American preachers don't have. They had a very clear, definitive understanding. So their exegesis and their understanding is totally different. So I'm trying to figure this thing out with these 700 left-handed men. Well, I happen to be there at Hay-on-Wye, actually finishing up on the PhD. So I said, there's got to be something. Because all my other American commentaries, zip, one of them, you're going to like this one. And it's quite a well-known commentary. It says, they were all left-handed because they were not right-handed. That is a direct quote. It's exactly what. I had to write my own commentary. I could have said that my own self. You want to just slap some people in Jesus' name, but you just need to slap some folk. My God. So this is what I deal with when I have to research stuff. Okay? So I knew there was more to it than that. So let's fast forward to Hey on Why. I'm in Hey on Why, right? And I got this thing in my head, and I can't find it. I can't get it. And then I found one little book by an old preacher, an old Methodist guy by the name of White. So I'm down in this basement, in those little bookstores there. It's like you're in a movie. You know, it's like you're down in the basement. There's no lights. They give you a flashlight. It's very British. It's your people. It's y'all's people. So I'm sitting on the floor with my flashlight. I flip over to the 20th chapter, and there it is. I knew if I looked long enough, I'd find this. You ready for this? See if this clicks. White says they were all left-handed because they were no longer right-handed. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. What you have here, my God, in this 20th chapter is 700 hand-picked, hand-chosen men that used to be right-handed. But in a fight somewhere, in a battle somewhere, maybe they lost a finger. Maybe they lost a hand. Maybe they lost an arm. Now, in the army today, if you get wounded in battle, you're out. You don't get a choice. But in the old Hebrew army, it's not how it worked. If you got wounded in battle in those days, they gave you the option. You can go home or you can stay. So, what you've got here, 700 men got wounded in a fight, wounded in a battle, had the option to go home. But instead of going home, light just came on for some of you. Instead of quitting, instead of walking away, instead of calling 1-800-CRYBABY, they said no. Hence, verse 16, where it says they could hit a hair with a stone. Turn me down, guys, it's ringing up here. They could hit a hair with a stone and not miss. Now, I'm right-handed, as most of you are. And we could toss back and forth like this, no problem with another right-handed person. But if I had to try to throw something left-handed, it's what we call in America throwing like a girl. It's that sissy San Francisco thing. Which, unless you're an American, that made no sense what I just said. But that was for my own edification. All right? It's that sissy thing. So in order to be flipped from right-handed to left-handed, somebody had to understand, number one, the importance of the battle. Number two, they had to understand the importance of their role, their position, their place in the battle. Y'all better get this, folks. You better get this. 700 men that had every reason to walk away and say, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I'm wounded in battle. But instead, see, and this is why Alexander the Great, if you know your history from that side of it, he taught all his soldiers to be ambidextrous, to be able to fight either right-handed or left-handed. Either way. What does this have to do with me and you? It has everything to do with some of you today. Because in a crowd this size, remember folks, I've been doing this 50 years. You're not going to tell me anything I haven't heard. Some of you walked in here today, you're this close to walking away. Well, you just got real quiet right there. Yeah, and I knew you would. Because some of you are tired. Some of you are beat up by life. I get it. I get it. Believe me, I get it. And when you reach that stage in your life when you think, man, I can't do this. I cannot do this. When I got hit with a brick here, it was in Brooklyn years back, it was a robbery. Guy blindsided me, came up behind me, hit me with a brick, busted my cheekbone, broke 3 of these teeth out. I just got these paid off. They look good though, right? Just got them all paid for, finally. But I was blind in this eye for 3 months. Now remember, folks, I've been in this all my life. Ministry all my life. Now I'm blind in this eye. You want to talk about being frustrated? You want to talk about being discouraged, disillusioned, disappointed? Oh yeah, how much time you got? You want to share stories with me at the back table? I'll slap you myself. In Jesus' name, but I will slap you. Well, we can trade stories, man. Let's do it. I had a guy in Germany bet me 100 euros. He had a harder life than me. I said, who do you want to start first, me or you? He said, you go first. After I told my life, he said, here, he gave me the 100 euros. And you know I took them. I took that sucker's money. I gave it to missions, but I took his money. Don't be telling me. Let's trade stories. Come on. Let's do it. 3 months. I was getting ready to quit. See, there's one thing about talking about quitting, but I bought the ticket. You with me? I bought the plane ticket, folks. I had the ticket. It was a Sunday night. I was leaving Monday morning. Yep. I had everything done. I didn't even have the guts enough to tell people I was leaving. That was pretty sad, didn't it? I was just leaving, just going. I set the alarm for 6 a.m. Monday morning. Couldn't sleep because I knew my whole life was about to change. I looked at I set the alarm for 6, couldn't sleep. I saw 3 o'clock. I guess I drifted off a little after 3 a.m. The alarm goes off at 6. Watch this. I turned the alarm off, turned on the light, and when I did, I saw it. My pillow was covered with blood, and I could see fine out of both eyes. Somewhere between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., God came. You better give God a praise. Right about there. Right about there. Yeah. Don't talk to me about questioning the miraculous. You are looking at a living miracle. You never thought a miracle would look like this, did you? A little disappointing, I know. But we're almost done, so let's just get through this. All right? See, when you've lived through the miraculous, when you've seen the tough times and the good times, it gives you a little bit of an extra edge for me to get up and share with you guys. Come on, folks. Come on. I know what it's like being on the tough end. When you think, I can't do this anymore. I'm wore out. I'm too beat up. 700 hand-picked, chosen. I don't use this word often, but I'm going to use it here. I figure it'll be another 5 years before I come back here. So I'm just going to unload the truck. What you've really got here in our vernacular is technically 700 handicapped people. Come on, guys. You got 700 handicapped men chosen to fight in. So why would you pick, if the battle was that critical, why would you pick handicapped people to fight it? Do you get it now? Something about these guys, they got it. They understood something that most of us in our day and time do not understand. And that's why I wanted to talk to you with this today, because I felt like there was some of you that need just a little bit of encouragement, just a little bit to say, you know what, now I understand some things. 700 handicapped men, they could hit a hair with a stone. I did a little research on how these guys used to do target practice. This will help you understand the David and Goliath story. You know what they used to do? They took horsehair, either from the mane or from the tail. They would tie one end of the horsehair around a tree branch, tie a stone to the other end of the hair, which would keep the wind from blowing the hair, keep the hair straight. And according to my research, these guys that were really good could hit a horsehair from half of a football field away. I can't even see a horsehair that far away. Never mind, hit it with a stone. So if you're right-handed all your life and you flip that and you become good enough to hit a horsehair with a stone, you better look at the person next to you and tell them to pay attention, because you need to get this. Somewhere in the fight, somewhere in the struggle, they understood the importance of the battle. They understood that they can either go home, they can give up, they can feel sorry for themselves, or realize that the battle is not over yet. Are you with me? Battle's not over yet. Oh, I can tell you about the battles. Oh yeah, give me a first picture. Stella, give me a picture. Most of the kids are gone, so I don't think this will be too big of a problem. I found this little boy in the Dominican Republic. This kid, you can see the little casts on his feet. He got run over by a truck. Very common in that part of the world that when a kid looks like this, is born like this, what they do, they check them into a hospital under a different name because they're never coming back to get him. Now this kid's been in the hospital almost 3 years. Nobody sees him, nobody comes back to get him. And I stopped, I don't speak Spanish, but I stopped right here and I was just looking at him. He tried to smile at me. I tried to smile. See, my mother left me on a street corner when I was a little boy. Many of you know the story because I've been here before. I shared it then. And I still, after all these years, get asked, why did your mother leave you on a street corner? I don't talk about that much. You can go back and read the books. You can listen to my tapes. I very seldom. I talk about what happened, but I don't go into much detail. And there's a reason for that. I'm comfortable with him. It's the only reason why I'm here, because I like him. No, it's you. You ought to thank God for the man and woman of God sitting right here on the front row, because I know what you got here. I know what you got. Most of the preachers in this part of the world, they got lace on their underwear. I wouldn't give you a dime for most of them. But you got somebody here. That's another message. I'm not going to get into it. But I say very little about this, but I'm comfortable here because I'm comfortable with him, and a lot of you guys know me. So I think I can say things here that maybe I wouldn't other places. You want to look here? You want to look like him? You want to take a look over here? You know why my mother left me on a corner? Because when I was that little boy's age, it's almost exactly what I used to look like. Many operations, my folks, over all these years. Many operations. Do you want to know why I sat on that corner for 3 days after she walked away? And the only one that stopped was an ordinary Christian. One man stopped in 1960, picked me up, sent me to a Sunday school camp. That's where I heard the story of Jesus for the first time, and everything changed. You want to know why I still drive the bus in New York City? Now you know, don't you? Because every week when I drive that bus to pick up the kids, now you know who I'm really picking up. Come on, Jesus. You better understand. You better understand. That's why I'll always drive the bus. Because I'm picking up me every week. That's why this is still real today, folks. That's what today is. It's just a reality day to day. And I was getting ready to walk away after I took this picture with my phone. And as I was getting ready to walk away, I saw him. He was trying to prop himself up on his elbows. And as I was getting ready to walk away, he was doing this to me. You know what he wanted, don't you? Yeah, you do. He just wanted somebody to pick him up and hold him. Because nobody does that. And I just picked him up very gently. And I just held him. You want to talk about the hard times? Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Yeah, we can do that. But so could some of you, couldn't you? Yeah, I understand. I understand what tired means. I understand what frustrated means. I understand when you think, I can't do this another day. I understand that. Take the picture down, Stella. And these 700 men, take the picture down, honey. These 700 men could have left, could have walked away. There's 3 observations from this truth. I'm going to give them to you quickly, and I'll be finished. The first thing I want you to grasp from this truth is, number one, if you're still right-handed, you ought to be jumping up and down right now. I mean, your socks ought to be going up and down. You ought to be so excited. I know that's not very British to get too excited, unless you're at some stupid football game, which makes no sense to me, but I guess it doesn't have to, really. I wish I had some people that got half as excited about Jesus as you do at these dopey football games. But I don't want to say anymore because I'm trying to be nice. And I'm about to blow the whole thing right here. And I know it. If you haven't been wounded in a battle yet, you ought to be thrilled. But your time's coming. You saw that? That doesn't sound like faith. Got nothing to do with faith. It's got to do with living life. If you live long enough, look at me. If you live long enough, you're going to get wounded. You're going to get beat up. You're going to have a battle. You're going to, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen, folks. Some of you younger folks, well, I don't understand. Of course you don't. You're under 30. So just sit there and shut up and listen. You'll learn something. If you're under 30, I love you. But you need to just sit down and listen, because you're going to learn a little something if you listen here. See, because if you live long enough, life will shut you up. I knew a preacher, one of the meanest preachers, always critical of other preachers, the way they raised their kids, never could do it right. You don't until that mean preacher, until his daughter came up pregnant, not married. I watched that man go through a metamorphosis. That man that was so mean, so unforgiving, so unkind, flipped 180, Jack, 180. Because it all came home to him. It came home to him. So you need to be real careful how much free advice you give out. Yeah, everybody's got free advice. Yeah. There was a young couple in the States, just wrote a book. They're like in their 20s, right? Please. They got two little preschoolers. They just wrote a book on how to raise kids. Are you stupid? Or are you just born that way? My God. You wrote a book and you got two little preschoolers? They're going to be using those books for toilet paper. Ain't nobody going to buy that book. Why would you buy a book from two knuckleheads under 30 that have no idea about life, no clue? If you're going to write a book about raising kids, I want to buy it from somebody who's raised kids that made it through their teenage years without killing them. Made it through the thing. Come on. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. Don't look at me cockeyed. You know I'm right. Without killing those stupid teenagers. I want to hear from those people. They got something to say. So if you haven't been wounded, you ought to be thrilled. But your time's coming. Your time's coming. So don't look at me cockeyed. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. Some of you giving me the dog look. You know what the dog look is. It's when you're talking to your dog and your dog goes. Some of y'all, don't give me the dog look. Don't do it. Observation number 2. When you get wounded. Not if, but when. When you get wounded in a battle. Give me a picture, Stella. What else you got? We threw some pictures in there. Yeah. Found this little girl out there in Ethiopia, chained to a tree. They didn't want her. Parents wanted a boy, got her, kept her for a while, and then decided we just don't want her anymore. Yeah. See, while a lot of other people are leaving Africa, I got people going because we got to have some folks to take care of these kids. Y'all know what I'm saying. You know exactly what I'm saying. I cut her loose, got her to the orphanage, took this picture. I was able to get a sponsor for her, get some help for her. I got back 6 months later, and because of one ordinary Christian who had been wounded herself, she was a single mom, but she said, we're going to try to save this little girl's life. Give me the next picture, Stella. After 6 months, that's it. Come on, give God a praise. You better give God a praise. That's what today's about. That's what this service is about. This real life stuff, folks. It's about ordinary people who understand the fight, who understand the battle. And even though you've been wounded and you've been beat up, I get it, folks. I can show you the scars. I can show you the x-rays. My whole left side of my body is bolted and screwed together. Okay? It's a bear when you go through security at the airport. I mean, I light that thing up like a Christmas tree. I mean, I'm held together with nuts and bolts, thrown off a building in a fight. I can show you those scars. I can't show you the scars. Deep inside here, he understands. Some of you understand. I can't show you the scars. Little girl in the Philippines, just this past trip in March. She was born without a rectum. They have a hole in her side. They have to stick a tube in there once a week. I said, I'm sending you, my little girl, with the help of some people to Singapore, and we're going to get you taken care of. And the mother's just saying, I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. She's dying, and I don't know what to do. I said, come on. I got some people that'll help save your look. Yeah. See, I understand what it feels like to be in the fight. Yeah. Give me another picture, Stella. What else you got there? Yeah, this little boy here. Yeah, put the picture up. I want people to see it. This is in Kenya. I told you this wasn't going to be an extra. It's just another day, folks. I don't live like you live. You all know this. This boy hadn't eaten for 4 days, stole a piece of bread. The store owner grabbed the machete, caught him, killed him, left him dead in the street, and then left the machete there to warn the other kids not to steal. Yeah. Take the picture down, Stella. Now, why do I show you this? Because I need you guys to understand. And some of you do, some of you may not. This is real life stuff. This isn't a movie. This isn't just another picture in National Geographic. This is real life. He understands it. I understand it. I hope some of you will understand a little better. And it's real frustrating when you live. See, when I come over here, I choose to come into your world. I make that choice to come into your world. In this service, I'm bringing you into my world. My world is not your world. It's just not. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just a different world. That's all. It's just a different world. But right there where that little boy was killed, I said, if that's what these kids are going to deal with, as painful as this is that what they deal with? Give me another picture, Stella. If that's what they deal with, you know what? Then we're going to start Sunday school right there. That's Metro Sunday School, right there where that happened. You better give God a praise. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Man, I wish some of you guys would go with me. I wish you'd go with me. And you know who's running that Sunday school right there? Some of you may remember, because she's been here before, a lady named Janine. Yeah, a British gal. Yeah, 5 years ago, she sold her house, she sold her car, gave away all of her clothes, and got a one-way ticket to go to Africa. And that, my friends, is what she's doing. She's representing you and this church pretty well, I think. I think she's a good representative of you and what you're doing. Take a good look. I just love to look at that picture. I could look at that picture all day. All day. Because that's what happens when people that have been wounded say, you know what? I can walk away, I can quit, or I can take all the things that the enemy tried to throw at me and use it to make a difference in somebody else's life. That's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking at right there. Yeah. So when you get wounded, you got two choices. Stay or go. Stay or go. No matter what anybody tells you, when you get beat up, folks, when you get wounded, two choices. Stay or go. But last, number three. Number three. Take it down, Stella. Thank you. Number three. If you choose to stay, why don't you just make up your mind? God help us. If you choose to stay, and I prayed that some of you would make that choice today. If you choose to stay, why don't you just decide that you're going to take all of that stuff that the devil's been throwing at you, trying to destroy you, trying to destroy your family, trying to discourage you. trying to make you feel like I don't have it. Take all that stuff that he's thrown at you and turn it around. And like the Apostle Paul said, use it for the furtherance of the gospel. And just be better than you would have ever been if you had not been wounded at all. Those 700 left-handed men, come on, folks. If they had not, my God, if they had not been wounded, it wouldn't have went like this, folks. But because of the battle, because they were wounded in battle, they had to make a choice. They either understood the battle or they did not. They either understood their place in the battle or they did not. And when it clicked, when they understood the importance of the battle, they said, not only are we going to stay in the battle, but we're going to be better because we got wounded than we ever would have been had we have never been wounded at all. That's why when I got the call a couple weeks ago to go to Syria, and people go, see, when I got shot in the head, everybody in America thought, oh, he's tough, but he's going to retire now. Retire and go where? Where do people like me go? Manchester? I mean, I love all y'all. But could you see me living here? No. No, there's only a few parts of the world that I could live in. This is a great place, I'm sure, to raise kids, great church. This is where I would go if I lived here, that's for sure. But to live here? Wow. He'd be raising an offering about once a month to bail me out of jail. Because I'd be outside on the street somewhere causing a whole lot more trouble than anybody would really want. But when I got the call to go to Syria, they said, are you going? What would you think? What would you think? Of course I'm going. Of course I'm going. Yeah. I'm a grateful man, folks. I should have been dead a long time ago. I'm smart enough to know that. There's no reason I should even be here today. And thank you for trusting me. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me today. Thank you, because you got to understand, folks, that when the enemy comes in like a flood, God's going to raise up a standard to do something in your life that even some of you sitting here that right now are thinking you can't go on, you can't make it, you've made too many mistakes, you've thrown your life away, God doesn't care about you. I get it, I know. And the devil plays with your head. I understand it. But I came here today to tell you, you've been wounded? Good. I'm glad. You see, you mean, you're glad I've been beat up by life? Yep, I sure am. You know why? I'm going to tell you. Because God has a special place in his army that the only ones that can serve in that part of God's army are those of us that have been wounded. God's army still uses wounded soldiers that understand it, that can turn it around and make a difference. Make a difference. Stand to your feet all over this place. Musicians.